I knew I knew that I was a good writer. But the part where I got really lucky is my brother and Chris Leone, the co-writer and director of the film, were coworkers. So one day, my brother approaches Chris at work because Chris has credits as a writer director, and said, "Hey, Chris, do you want to read a script?" To which Chris said, "Absolutely not," uh, which is the right answer in Hollywood because the running joke in LA is you're never more than 20 feet away from an unsolicited script in this town. Uh,
Yeah.
but my brother wore him down, and Chris eventually read the first draft of the script. And he was kind of shocked at the way um, I told the story about EMS without it being like super dramatic and all of the the big drum beats and how we save everybody's lives, but more about the comedic undertone of the film and being telling the honest story, but having us kind of laugh along the way. Um, and he liked it enough to get involved. We had our first meeting, and he said, he never asked me what was the worst thing I have ever seen coming out the gate. But he did ask me in our first meeting, he said, "Tell me something that I wouldn't know as an outsider." And I just started laughing, and I just said, "Well, Chris, I know what brains smell like." And he fell out of his chair, and he was just like hooked. And
Yeah.
from that point on, it was we started working together and cranking on it. And then, excuse me, it took us 12 years. So, I mean, if you count from when I wrote the short story, it was 15 years. If you count from when Chris got on board, it was 12 years. But nobody was getting paid. This was a passion project. I certainly didn't have any credentials in Hollywood. I was working full time as a director and all the things at hospital operations, and Chris was working on his career. But we would get together once a month, once every couple of months. We would email back and forth before it got really serious, saying, I think about this. What do you think about this scene? Um, and over the span of 12 years, we really got it buttoned up and really liked where the script was. Once we got it to a point that we were both happy and proud of where we think it could go, Chris's agents and managers started shopping it around town. And the short version of the story is it landed in Rainn Wilson's lap. Now, how it got to him, I don't know. Presumably, it was through one of his agents. But Rainn Wilson, you'll probably recognize, plays Dwight in The Office. He read the script and absolutely loved it. And once Rainn got on board as a actor producer, he started making recommendations of the script, which made it better. And then through his connections, we got Wayfair, which was the studio, which ultimately got us financing. And then the rest of the cast kind of came into view, and we were off to the races. So what I tell everybody is, it is the most, you know, it is the longest roll up to a roller coaster ride everywhere. You start going up, click, 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 12 years, nothing happens, nothing happens, nothing happens. And then you go over the top, the brakes fall off, and you make a movie in 28 days. And then after that, it takes a year to do the editing and the post and the music and all that stuff. Um, then you go
Wow. So that whole thing was shot in 28 days.
28-day shoot
Holy
from soup to
smokes.
nut. We had a
Wow.
month of pre-production, which was part of that conversation with you, going like, "Hey, we want to make sure that this works, with an ER doc." And if you haven't seen the movie, I'm not going to spoil it, but the physician in the movie is a perfect rendition of Dr. Rapoff. I just want to.
I'm not going to take that, but all right.
uh, but yeah, we did it all in 28 days, and then from there, like I said, a year for post, and then we went out to the different film festivals. We got into Toronto, so we got into TIFF for their selects program. So we were not part of their juried selections, but every year TIFF picks 10 movies that says like they're not up for awards, but we think they're really worth watching. We were in there. And then from there, we got distribution just this year. We released on 9/11 to select theaters. We went to about 120 some odd theaters, 130 across the country. And then we went to Amazon and Apple to rent or buy, which is where we currently sit right now. I know that they're working on trying to finalize a streaming deal, so fingers crossed that happens. You can also buy the actual DVD on Amazon. That just dropped, I think, this week. Um, so yeah, that's kind of been the ride the whole way through.
So like I said, I watched it, of course, with my wife. I've watched it a couple times now, but the first time watched it with my wife. I mean, and truly, if you haven't seen this movie, everybody I've talked to with, they're right on point with Patrick. Nailed it. He nailed. I mean, every one of the cases that are in there we've had. The interactions that you've had with the asshole doctor you've had. I mean, all of the things that are in there, and I think that's probably why it makes it's so funny and so entertaining. After I saw it, I called Patrick and I said, I think this is going to be a long time EMS cult classic, probably for as long as we live. So I don't know if you can talk about this, but what's next and what's coming up? What's on the horizon for you? Is this going to be your new actor co-writer career, or where do you go from here?
I mean, I would love nothing more than to make my career in make believe for the rest of my life. It's been a lot of fun, and frankly, a career I didn't know anything about. So I'd never been on set before. I'd never done anything like this, and I really enjoyed it. So I've got some other stuff that I've written that hopefully after the wave of Code 3 kind of subsides, which I hope has a long tail, makes it easier to sell my next project. But yeah, I've got another script written kind of based on the bakery that we grew up in. Um, I've got a huge $100 million spy thriller movie that no one's going to give me $300 million to make, but it's in the can if anybody wants it. But yeah, that's been the fun stuff, is to see that there are other opportunities that I can use a lot of this expertise and knowledge to make it more realistic. And going back to what you said, the whole reason we wrote this thing, or that I wrote this thing, is to be true to the job. Like, the amount of messages that I've received through social media have been overwhelming, in that, exactly what you said. We got it right. Thank you. I feel seen. All of these wonderful things. And to me, that was the thing that I always wanted, because whenever you watch us on TV or movies, we're either the butt of the joke, or these overly dramatic fools that are just like, we're saving everybody's life, or so it's just bad. It's just terrible. Um, and I was very fortunate, because my experience in Hollywood is very different from arguably any other writer that you will ever come across, especially if they're not also the director of their own project, because I was the technical consultant. So whenever we were doing anything uh, medically complex, or even in the day-to-day stuff, they would ask me. And so I would tell them, like, here's where your hand goes. Here's what's going on. Here's what's going on in the body. Here's why you're doing what it is that you're doing. And the actors were 100% invested. Like, you couldn't have asked for better partners with Rainn, Rel, and Aimee when we were doing things like, there's a very complex medical scene that happens at a baseball field. And we rehearsed that for like 2 hours before the cameras came on, just on how to make sure that what we're doing looks good on camera. That way it looks realistic. My hill to die on for this film was that CPR was going to be done well, because I'm a firm believer that people emulate what they see on screen. And I can back that up by, I have run the call from Pulp Fiction more than once, where somebody stabbed the EpiPen in somebody's sternum because they thought that's what they were supposed to do. So we wanted it to be honest. We wanted it to be medically accurate. So, the non-rebreathers are filled, the IV lines are running, the cardiac monitors are appropriate and accurate to what the patient's condition is. So all of the little things, in my estimation, are done well, because what I wanted to do is have a film that would service the community that I'm a part of, and then also hopefully become a recruitment tool for EMS, while not shying away from the major issues that we face. So the film, hopefully, for anybody who wants to get in to just put a cape on and go pretend to save lives, if they watch the film and get a realistic taste of what this job is, they may self-select out. And for those that are currently doing the job, that they feel seen and validated and heard and appreciated, and that people might see this job and see the highlights and the struggle, and say, this is still something that I want to pursue. And so that was my driving motivation. And then the other part too that we talk a lot about is that when you watch the movie, everything can be funny, but we never make fun of the patient. And we worked really hard. And it's hard to explain how hard that is sometimes. Everything else can be funny. The setups can be funny. The scenes can be funny, but we intentionally never make fun of the person that's calling 911. Because one of the things that we were like was just, if you're calling for help, I don't care if it's a hangnail or a heart attack. Like, my job is to help. And so we make fun of a lot of stuff, don't get me wrong, but we never make fun of the person who's calling 911.
Wow, that's great. Yeah, I think you hit on multiple really good points there. I think one of which, and I was happy to see that everybody didn't get saved and everybody didn't have a great outcome, because that's realistic. One of the things that, when I get young students and kids come in to follow me, especially if they have a cardiac arrest, I usually kind of try to prepare them for, there's a good chance if they come in dead, I'm not going to be able to do anything. So know that going in. But I think you're right. Boy, I didn't even think about the fact that, Rainn and Lil Rey and the whole crew really don't know how to do, EMS skills, but their mannerisms were absolutely on point whenever they were moving. But I think you did a really great job of making sure, you don't want to deter people from calling EMS, because I think there was probably a lot of jokes in there about, all the bullshit that we've seen, all the things we've, had people stick up their butts and whatnot. But I'm glad you did refrain from that, because we, ultimately we're here to help people. And, I think you did a great job with that. But if you haven't seen the film, it's spectacular. What's one of the things that you kind of learned from this process that you didn't expect, or one thing that really caught you off guard from making the film?
It was really, excuse me, it was really two things that
Hey,
that
Patrick, give me 1 second. We had a couple people jump on. So for those who just jumped on in the last short bit, this is Patrick Pianezza. He's actually one of the co-writers from Code 3, the new EMS movie out. He's current licensed paramedic, but worked for many years in the hospitals and outside. But he's kind of given us a rundown prior to our CMO meeting on just kind of his experience with the Code 3 movie. Go ahead, Patrick.
Yeah, so two things really kind of blew me away. That again, it was a foreign world. Like, movie making is not something that I had any experience in. But there's two real big things that I'll always remember. Number one is, as you watch the film, excuse me, as you watch the film, you will see Rainn's uniform becoming more and more disheveled. And to me, when you don't shoot the movie in order, by the way, in case you didn't know that, you don't start at the first scene and end at the last. You shoot very much out of order depending on what's available, etc. But every once in a while, I would catch that Rainn's shirt was untucked or something, and I would walk by and I would say, "Hey, Rainn, your shirt's untucked." And finally, he got mad at me for pointing it out, because I was sitting there looking at it like, yeah, come on, man, you can't. You're looking like a slob, basically. Or I thought I was helping because I thought he was,
Sure.
absent-minded or whatever. But what he explained to me, which really blew me away, is he wanted his costume to mirror the
The
character's
24-hour shift.
well,
Yeah.
not just that, but the character's journey. So as he gets more stressed,
Gotcha.
his uniform slowly starts to show that as well. And
Cool.
that
That's
was one of
cool. I
those
didn't
things
even
where
think
it's
about
like,
that. Now there's a bunch of things I got to go back and watch the movie now that you're explaining all this stuff.
yeah, it blew me away. Like, when he
Yeah.
told me that, and then the first time I saw the rough cut, I was looking out for it, because to me, it was one of the things that drove me insane. It was like,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
got to have your shirt tucked in, you got to look good. Like, what are you doing?
Right. And I can think of the last scene. He's kind of got it unbuttoned, and
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, cool.
So that really, to see that level of care, consideration, and
Mhm.
thought process into
Mhm.
the character's journey. And I also tell everybody this: it's not an autobiography. The main character's name is Randy. It's not Patrick, so it never was. I mean, it's obvious. It's certainly 85% me, and I certainly gave all of the. I wrote it, so I mean, of course, it's going to
Yeah.
reflect my experiences.
Yeah.
But it's not an autobiography of Patrick. So that really blew me away. And then the other thing that is like super niche and doesn't exist until you actually see it is, there's a scene on a highway, and the guys are wearing reflective vests like they're supposed to. And when we started shooting that scene, it blew out the sensors on the camera because the reflective taping was made to reflect stuff. It doesn't work well with movie cameras. So our head of costuming runs in, grabs a reflective vest, goes into the trailer, and sews this magic ribbon that only exists for one reason, and that is for Hollywood, over the reflectiveness. So when you put it on camera, it looks just like a reflective vest, but doesn't have the qualities that messes
Actually
up
reflect. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was those little tiny things just kind of blow me away.
Cool. That's cool. That's cool. Well, I don't want to keep you too long. I know I wanted to give everybody here a chance if they got questions or, something they wanted to mention to Patrick about the film itself. Like I said, Code 3 is the new film that came out just this year, currently streaming on multiple platforms. Sounds like I'm going to have to get my physical copy. I have my copy on Amazon, but sounds like I need to get my physical copy as well. I'll have to have you and your brother sign that next time I see you. Is there anybody that's on here in the room or at home or in their office that's got questions or just wanted to say something about the video since we got Patrick on?
It's Amanda. I just wanted to say I really enjoyed the movie, and I actually watched it with my husband, who is a medic, and my daughter, and so it was kind of interesting to watch her reaction to things. And she'd be like, is that real? Or, and we'd have conversations about it. So it was actually kind of cool to watch it with my 14-year-old. And my husband and I both really enjoyed it. So thank you.
Ah, thanks.
Anybody else got anything? Shirley. Yeah.
There that I could, going back in my head, my Rolodex, I cried like a baby on them. But I did laugh my ass off when the gal in the restaurant, what's the worst thing you've ever seen? Oh my God, that was epic.
Yeah, I used to do I used to volunteer for the 8th grade career day at one of the local schools, and there was a couple years in a row that I told them, I said, I'll answer your question, but if you guys tell on me, I'm probably not going to get asked back. Well, I haven't been back in a couple years because I answered that question a couple times. So maybe being truthful is not necessarily the right way to go.
Yeah, steal it. Baby in a microwave. That usually gets them to shut up.
Yeah, I didn't want to steal any of the thunder from the joke, but yeah, that was good. That was good. So, well, anybody else got anything? Patrick, I really appreciate you jumping on, man. You did such a great job with this movie, and I know I've told you in text and on the phone, but me being one of your great friends for so long and knowing you and your brother, I'm super proud of you guys, and how cool that our journeys have led us all into medicine, and all the lives that we've saved, and all the I think you guys really nailed this movie. You guys did such a great job with I think all the finer tuned parts of it, and like you said, even not making fun of the patient, I think that was huge. That was paramount, and that's something I wouldn't even have thought of, because probably half of the jokes you had to cut out were ones that were specifically there. But ultimately, we want the people to call us. We want, it might be silly, it might be stupid, but we're there to save lives, even if it's not a big deal to us, it's a big deal to them. So thank you for putting that together. Thanks for representing us on this national stage. I'm excited to see where things go with this movie, but excited to see where your career takes you as well.
Thanks. And I do want to, I will embarrass Justin for a second here and just say, I want everyone on the call to truly appreciate how lucky you are to have a medical control doc like him. I mean, I've known Justin since he's been 8. So this is not Hollywood flattery. I deeply know his parents, his sister. We grew up less than 5 miles away from each other. He is a brilliant human being and a hell of a nice guy. And I'm very honored and proud to call him a friend.
Thank you for that. I appreciate you. Well, thanks, Patrick.
Was I on mute there? Sorry. We can cut that in post.
Well, maybe next time you're filming, I'll come out and be an extra.
Yeah, We'll see what we could do. Have your people call my people.
Yeah, right. There you go. Well, good. Well, hey, Patrick, I appreciate you jumping on. We'll let you cut loose, but best of luck going forward, and please keep in touch. I'm sure we'll talk at the holidays like we normally do.
Yeah, and just for everybody who's on the call, I've said this on every single interview, and I won't take any more of your time. But for those of you that are still doing the job, I do not currently. But for anybody who's still doing the job, thank you for what you do. I know you don't hear it enough, so you're going to hear it from me. And every interview with this, thank you very much for what you do. It matters. You're saving lives, and I don't say that flippantly. That's coming from somebody who did the job for 12 years. So thanks for what you guys are doing for your community. It does absolutely matter.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thanks, Patrick. Have a great one, man.
Bye.